Hey folks, welcome back to Ken Michaels Radio, where we talk about the Beatles all the time here. This time, a little bit of a detour, but it's about a band that was very influenced by the Beatles. We're going to be talking about the Raspberries here because just recently there was this brand new tribute to the band called Play On, a Raspberries Tribute. This is the front cover right here. We have one of the producers for this collection, Fernando Perdomo, with us. Fernando has been a guest on this channel before, and he's also been on Things We Said Today and Talk More Talk when he is promoting the Ramon tribute to Paul and Linda's album, which, by the way, I heard is coming out on vinyl very soon, so I've been told.
It's
And
been on vinyl. It's been on vinyl. I actually have. I'm looking at about 10 copies that they're sitting there that I'd love to sell.
oh, okay,
You know.
Denny Seiwell was just on our show telling us about it.
Oh, really? Interesting. Well, it's been on vinyl. It was an interesting process. And I'm still very proud of that record. I mean, it's one of the greatest things ever to me. I mean, it was just uh, that text message from Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Oh, that he.
Because
Which one are you talking about?
well, but when Denny was, Denny being a responsible adult, asked for permission for us to make the record.
Yeah.
And Paul, basically, I saw a text message that he sent Paul that said, "There's this guy Fernando, and he could get all the old sounds, and he thinks it would be a great idea to do a tribute album for the 50th anniversary. And would it be cool if we did this?" And he wrote back, "Sounds good. Have fun."
Okay.
So all I saw was my name and then Paul McCartney answering, and I'm just like, okay, that's a level of epic that I never thought I'd ever reach because I'm from Miami, Florida, where a lot of dreams don't even come to fruition. So it's been LA has been everything I ever wanted and everything I've ever been warned about, and my relationship with Denny has been something that I've dreamed about since I was 8 years old. That's when I got into Wings, and that's when I saw Wings Over America and said, "That's what I want to do." I
Well,
mean, I pointed right at Jimmy McCulloch and said, "That's what I want to do." So I'm staring at my SG, and I had a really funny moment the other day. Some guy was like, "Oh man, cool monkey guitar," and I'm like, "Monkey guitar?" He's like, "Yeah, that's a Tony Iommi." I'm like, "No, no, that's a Pete Ham, Jimmy McCulloch, George Harrison on Revolver, Pete Townsend, Robbie Krieger if you're nasty, but that's not a metal guitar. It may look like the devil, but it's not a metal guitar. I have a no metal policy."
okay. Okay. Whatever you say. Yeah, I would love to have you on quite frequently on this channel, given your whole history and all the people you've been working with. I mean, I can't even imagine, and we're going to talk to my other guest in just a second, what it must be like for you to work with all these people on the Raspberries tribute.
It
You know,
was an incredible journey. I have to say that I feel weird being on here without my partner Ken because Ken spent a lifetime creating these relationships. I
mhm.
recommended a few people. I got a few people in there that were, really, really knocked it out of the park. But most of these people are people that Ken's been friends with for decades. And this morning I saw a picture of Lou Graham holding the CD. Mind blown. Rick Springfield, mind blown. I was there in the room, engineering John Waite, and that guy, just these people, it's in their DNA. One of the things that I loved about the about every tribute project I've ever done is, well, actually, except for one, but I don't want to talk about anything I've done with another label that I worked with.
Mhm.
Everything that I've done on my own, I made sure that everybody who's on the record loves the record.
Mhm.
And it's in their DNA. And I feel like the Raspberries were such an important band that bridged the gap between the Beatles and what is considered to this day classic rock, stadium rock. Because there's so much, I mean, look, just the moment that Go All the Way came out, it had so much Beatles, so much Beach Boys, a little bit of girl group stuff, which is very important because, man, as Beatles 64 talked about, you know, uh, there wouldn't be a Beatles if it wasn't for the Shirelles, if it wasn't for the Ronettes, if it wasn't for all these girl groups that they also loved. And it's like, to
And
me,
songwriters too.
yeah, all these bro building songwriters, Goffin and King and Dozier Holland and all that stuff. But go all the way, took Beatlemania and turned it up to 11. Even more, I think, than Badfinger, even though no matter what is the first thing I play every time I plug in a guitar. There's something about the Raspberries that took it to the next level because of that Who element too.
Okay,
Uh, because of the fact that Jim Bonfanti was such a powerhouse Keith Moon type drummer,
right.
and the fact that they had equal amounts of jangle and riff, you know. And I love it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I remember when I first heard the Raspberries. So, I'm 45 years old, but my family being Cuban didn't have a lot of rock and roll, so I had to seek it out myself. And the secret was flea markets. Miami had a really wonderful flea market called the Tropicare Flea Market, and there was this guy named Tony, and he sold 50 cent records. And my mom would give me $5 every Sunday, and I realized I could take home 10 records every Sunday. And that's how I amassed 1,000 records by the time I was in high school. And I remember getting a copy of Fresh Raspberries, and that record knocking my socks off. And it's a thing. It's a lifelong obsession that I've had with good songs, great guitar playing, great chord progressions.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that I got to say about the Raspberries is that they had incredible songs. And one of the things that made it really fun to make this record is it's all about the songs. It's no ego, you
Certainly.
know. And we had a lot of fun rearranging some of these songs, and there's some really unique performances on this record.
Okay.
I love it.
Let me get to John, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that when you were referring to Ken, you're talking about
Sharp.
Ken Sharp,
Hmm.
who's multi-instrumentalist. He wrote a book, which is the definitive book on the Raspberries, Overnight Sensation, and he's a power pop, you know, expert
Phenom.
as is. Well, both of you, but John has also written a couple of books on power pop as well. We have John Borack with us, who is a contributing editor for Goldmine Magazine. He's been in a number of bands, still is in a number of bands, one of which, the
On
Popdudes,
the record.
this record right here.
Yep.
And so basically, what I wanted to, because you actually answered some of my questions here, Fernando, but you can both chime in together. But I want to know from John's perspective how you got into the Raspberries and what made them different. And there's actually a great essay from Howie Edelson in the notes here for the box set. What was the difference between, say, the Raspberries and Badfinger, for example? Um, but what was it about this band, and how did you get into them, John?
Well, I've been a lifelong Beatles fan, Ken, as you know,
Yep.
and at some point, if you're a fan of the Beatles, you start looking for music that maybe is influenced by them or sounds like them.
Hmm.
And the moment I heard "Go All the Way" and "I Want to Be with You," I thought, this is it. This is you know my Beatles. Because I was there too late for the for Beatlemania and the Beatles' career. I was 8 years old when they broke up, but being a teenager, getting into these records, yeah, Raspberries were amazing, and everybody played a part. It wasn't just Eric Carmen and company. I
Hmm.
mean, Wally Bryson, as Fernando said, just an amazing guitar player, could pretty much do everything on the guitar, riffs and jangle. Again, like Fernando said, Dave Smalley and later Scott McCarl. I mean, Scott McCarl is one of my favorite songwriters ever. He's amazing,
Hmm.
and the stuff that he contributed to starting over, I think, is just some of the best music of the 70s. That's probably my favorite Raspberries album, is Starting Over, their final
Great
album.
record. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jim, with his Keith Moonisms, but also still keeping time and just never losing, never losing that backbeat. Kind of reminded me of Ringo, kind of a cross between Ringo and Keith Moon, honestly.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, just you put all four of those together and add the songs that, Eric was writing, to a lesser extent, Dave, and then Scott, and Wally, is just, it was a magic formula. And it's one of those, like the Beatles, comes along all too rarely. And it was just something that I really, really loved and still do. There's some music, to me, if you listen to it, you don't need to hear it over and over. And a lot of the stuff of the 70s is that way to me. I mean, I certainly respect Hotel California, Stairway to Heaven. I don't need to hear
Mhm.
them ever again, though.
Mhm.
I've heard them. But the Raspberry stuff, like the Badfinger stuff, it never gets old.
No.
It's still
I'm always
fresh.
thrilled when I hear some. Well, I'm always thrilled when I hear a radio station take a chance and play something from Badfinger, Raspberries, or Big Star. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I was listening to an old Casey Kasem American Top 40 from 1974 last week on Sirius XM, and Overnight Sensation came on. I think it was number 24 or 20 that week. And I got excited like it was 1974, just hearing that song. Wow, this song's on the radio. It's just really
Uh-huh.
cool. Yeah,
Was
it's just sort of that magical thing that they had, that very few bands of that era doing this kind of music could touch. That's why you don't hear about a ton of power pop bands from the early 70s. It wasn't really being
Mhm.
done.
when you hear that phrase power pop, do you look at it as something that these bands that they feel with pride, or is it something that people might have a limited view of them because they're grouped in that category?
Well, a lot of artists I know shy away from being labeled power pop, but I think, I certainly can't speak for the guys in Raspberries, but I don't think at the time they minded at all. I interviewed Eric for my last book, the Shake Some Action book, and he was proud to be called, somebody who helped invent the genre, really.
Hmm.
And he always said it was, they were equal parts, the Who, the Beatles, the Byrds, and the Small Faces. I mean, those were their main influences. And yeah, he seemed proud. He didn't seem like it was any sort of albatross around his neck or anything. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Did you
Well,
have
yeah, everyone has a different opinion of labels. It seems like power pop is a way uh, cooler label than yacht rock, because I don't know if anybody saw the yacht rock movie. Freaking, there's a great scene where freaking what's his name, Donald Fagen just
Yeah.
absolutely hangs up on the guy and loses it. And then I just saw an interview with Daryl Hall, and he hates the title Blue Eyed Soul. He thinks it's racist. So it's really, really interesting to see that power pop is a very credible badge for people to wear. And I
Yeah.
think it's a perfect genre. It's a perfect pair of words to describe the genre, because it's the combination of pop craftsmanship and powerful guitars and drums and bass. And I
And
think,
honestly, a lot of what's called or what was called power pop back in the day wasn't necessarily all that powerful. I mean, Emmett Rhodes was called power pop, but he didn't really have much power to him. It was more of the Beatles element. But
well,
Raspberries
any
had the power. You know.
Any Nick Drake fan would know that it doesn't take a loud guitar to make you make the music powerful,
Yeah.
but definitely it helps to have the volume. And I mean, it didn't hurt Cheap Trick, Smithereens, the Knack, all these other bands that are considered power pop, to be punchy and loud. And I think that's one of the things also about the Raspberries that I love, is that the same band that could write a really loud and punchy song about sex could also write something as tender as I Can Remember, or I Reach for the Light. Come around and see me. And that's the beautiful thing. It's like, really, it's about pop craftsmanship, and also the power to be able to stand next to the Stones and the Who and the Kinks and be able to hold their ground, because a lot of these bands spent their entire careers opening for people. playing shows with these people. But it's really cool to see that the Raspberries had fans in high places like Keith Moon and John Lennon. You
Hmm.
know, how cool is that?
Yeah.
You know,
You
you
want to,
know,
hey John, you were talking to me before about John expressing his, admiration for the Raspberries.
Yeah, there's a story that I was probably in Ken's book that I
yeah,
read it that Eric was preparing to meet John Lennon. I think they were both at the record plant working, and Eric had this whole speech prepared, according to what he said in Ken's book, that if not for you, there would be no me, and thank you. And when he walked up to John, John just said, "Hey, I love your record. Me and Ringo have been promoting it." And Eric was just sort of speechless. He just sort of stammered and said thank you and didn't know what to say. But yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, you get a John Lennon recommendation. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
that's again, going back to that talk about the Paul McCartney text message. This is, a presidential phone call, to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, John Lennon wearing a Raspberries t-shirt, Keith Moon showing up to the Whiskey A Go-Go to jam with the Raspberries.
Hmm.
And also now, 50 years later, 60 years later, 50 years later, all these amazing legends that have paid tribute on this record. I mean, Lou Gramm, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. I mean, these are some big names that are on this record that are, putting their egos aside to pay tribute to a band that shaped the way they are. I mean, I don't think Lou Gramm would have sung the same way if it wasn't for Eric Carmen. I mean, he definitely influenced a lot of his voice. And um,
Has he
there's a
ever admitted that?
huh?
Has he ever admitted that?
I'm sure he has somewhere. You
Huh.
know, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot of Paul Rogers and Joe Cocker, but I also here's the thing about Paul Rogers and Joe Cocker, they're blues singers, and I'm sure Eric could sing the crap out of the blues, but Eric showed that you could sing in that style and still be melodic, super
Mm.
melodic,
Yeah.
and have so much range. I mean, just go all the way. One minute he's yelling like Steve Marriott, another minute he's crooning. You
Mm.
know, there's a lot of range. That's not an easy song to sing, and Rick Springfield knocked it out of the park. You know,
Yeah. Before we talk about all the different performances on the album, I want to ask you guys about, there's a part of me that feels if you mix classical into rock, that's like progressive rock to me. And there are elements of that in the Raspberries with what Eric Carmen brought in some of the piano parts that he played, which
yes,
eventually led to All by Myself, and
yes,
he's doing Rachmaninoff. Do you feel that there was a progressive side to the Raspberries too?
of course there was. I can remember. Look, I'm a prog guy. I've worked with Yes, I've worked with Steve Hackett, I've worked with Pink Floyd members, I've worked with everybody, and to me, I can remember
Hmm.
is as prog as any Moody Blues song. It's right up there with Yes. I'm a massive fan of the Mellotron. In fact, I've just acquired a real Mellotron that I'm it's getting fixed.
Nice.
And one of the only times I remember ever seeing a big white Mellotron on stage is Raspberries performing I Can Remember on the Midnight Special, and Dave Smalley playing the Mellotron along with Eric Carmen on piano. And that's real prog, man. That's as prog as it gets.
Hmm.
You know, they had those epic moments. And it's all the bones of what ended up making Eric the big money with All by Myself, on the solo stuff. You know, um there's an interesting parallel between Eric Carmen and Todd Rundgren because you could totally tell what songs he wrote on piano and what songs he wrote on guitar. And it's two completely different sides of their personality. And both, I mean, I love Todd. Todd's one of my favorite guitar players, but uh, the piano stuff inches above to me because I feel like, I write on piano too. I love playing. I remember when I first saw Todd Rundgren, he says, um, what was he said? He says, I play seven instruments. Piano's definitely number seven, you know, and it's still, there's a thing to it. And Eric was such a skilled classical pianist, and you could tell that he learned all those songs as a kid, and it just ended up in his DNA, you know, and it's beautiful. I mean, the I can just, oh man, if you change your mind,
Oh God. That's
just
my favorite Raspberry song that wasn't a single.
oh yeah, why wasn't that a single?
I don't know. It's got
You
McCartney
know,
all over it
I
to me.
mean,
Wow.
I mean, talk about a melody that works on as an instrumental.
Hmm.
I mean, it's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. Just like,
If you want to join in on drums there, John, you're more than welcome.
it's such a beautiful thing. Oh man, F to D9.
Let's
That's
pretend.
such a beautiful change. Who does that?
Yeah.
The funny thing though, Ken, about the funny thing about that.
Let John talk for a second.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Fernando. I couldn't really hear the guitar, so I thought you were done. Um, yeah, the funny thing about the prog influence is that Eric always said Raspberries formed as kind of an antidote to that sort of, as he mentioned, long-haired, noodling, 8-minute sort of stuff. So I don't think he saw it as prog back then. I think he saw it more as his classical influences.
Hmm.
Symphonic rock.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he really saw it as
Well,
prog.
I
I
think
mean,
I think they've definitely shared more with like Moody Blues and
yeah.
Renaissance. By the way, I'm going through a massive Renaissance phase because I never realized that they put out two albums before Annie Haslam with Keith and Jane Ralph and Jim McCarty of the Yardbirds. And I've
Hmm.
been reading Jim McCarty's book, and it's incredible. Well, sorry, I have ADD. Jim McCarty tried out for Wings to replace Denny Seiwell. He was in third place. Jeff Britton beat out. This is great because John's a drummer. Jeff Britton beat out Mitch Mitchell and Jim McCarty to become the new drummer in Wings.
Wow.
I think
And then he
Mitch
was
Mitchell
there
would have
what
been.
for about he was there for about 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't really
Yeah.
do a great job. He was too busy with the karate.
I heard
But
that him and Jimmy didn't really get along
not
as
at all.
he
Not at
was more
all.
of a straight and narrow, health
Well,
nut, and Jimmy
Jimmy
was
and
not.
Jimmy and Denny were party guys.
Right, right.
But yeah, they didn't need a straight guy in the band. But yeah, I think McCarty would have been a good mix, a good stylistic thing, and also he would have been a strong singer in the band.
I
I
can't
love.
imagine Mitch Mitchell in Wings though. It's kind of like when uh, I kept the drummer from Missing Persons joined the Knack. It was like
Exactly.
no, yeah, no, that it just wouldn't have worked. But
You don't need a machine gun to kill an ant.
right, right. And then, it's funny, speaking of power pop, we'll bring this back around to power pop. Jeff Britton later went on to play drums for a band called The Keys, who released a really great obscure power pop album, 1980, produced by Joe Jackson. So there you
Yeah,
go.
and the Lemon Twigs just covered that song.
Yeah, I've seen him do it live. Amazing.
Pretty
Wow.
cool. But Jeff Britton was also in a prog band called East of Eden, which had a violinist named Dave Arbus. Well, how does that name sound familiar?
I can't think of it.
Either.
Dave Arbus's violins, engineered by Keith Moon. He played the violin on Baba O'Reilly.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Wow.
Sorry,
This is
nerds with ADD. We're going to start a new band called Nerds with ADD. Now back to the Raspberries.
yeah. Let's just talk about the compilation here.
Yes.
When did this project start, And
4 years ago.
okay, was there?
This was a project that was started 4 years ago. Ken was the impetus. He was like, "Hey, I want to do a Raspberries tribute." I said, "I love the Raspberries," and I already had ideas,
Uh,
and I immediately said, I want to be the lead on I can remember I can't sing it, but I want to be the lead on that one. It's got to be on the record because that's my that's my favorite. Like that's to me the top of the mountain.
mm,
Not everybody loves it. Some people think it's a little fluffy. I think it's freaking amazing. And Carla DeVito knocked that one out of the park. And also we had help from Darian Sahanaja because, as I said, I love the piano, but I'm not a pianist. So he absolutely nailed that one. But it was a long process because Ken insisted on pretty much covering every song, and it was tough to find a label to be able to release the full, the full Monty. But we pretty much every song that anybody ever cared about with with the Raspberries is on this massive album. But it was a really it actually, once it really got going, it really started taking shape. And a lot of the hardest part was the last year getting the album released because the album's pretty much been in the can now for about a year. So luckily we were able to find Think Like a Key, which is an incredible label, and they're doing a great job. And it's been a process, but man, it's also fun because we suddenly turn into casting agents. So it's like, oh, okay, well, who can knock tonight out of the park?
mm,
And Ken's like, Lou Graham. And I'm like, yeah. And, he's had his health struggles, but man, he sounds like that's like prime Lou Graham right there. And he nailed it. And, it was really fun. Oh, uh, we're massive Utopia fans, and getting Willie Wilcox to sing with you in my life, it
right.
sounds like something that could have been on the Face the Music, you know.
And you have cast
Yeah.
on there.
Chasm doing Cry, which is perfect because it's not easy to sing some of these melodies. So it's we got to find these tenors, and you know, Kaz has one of those voices that has no ceiling, you know. So he nailed it.
Yeah. So why couldn't you get Todd?
Oh, we have to be very careful. I mean, I don't. As far as Todd's concerned, I'm just very happy he knows my first name.
Uh-huh.
I'm very happy that I've been in his home. I'm very happy that I've had dinner with him. But he's really busy. He's touring his ass off. He's touring right now.
He
You
never
know,
stops.
he never stops because he knows that that's his sweet spot. I wish he made more records, but that's a whole other thing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay,
but
well,
no, it was fun. I mean, look, we had people in mind from the day one, like the Lemon Twigs. We had people in mind from day one, like, he wanted to get some people involved that were in the Kiss world, people involved that were in the power pop world. It was great to get Marshall Crenshaw on, even before I started playing with him. I mean, honestly, my relationship with Marshall Crenshaw comes from one thing: tribute records. He got a copy of the Todd Rundgren tribute album I did, and he immediately wrote me and said, "Hey, do you do touring?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So you want to play guitar for me? I'm like, "No way." Amazing.
uh,
To me, Marshall Crenshaw has been as influential as Paul McCartney in many different ways because of his similar vocal range of mine, and also the fact that I remember listening to him in my first car and going, "I wish I could write like that. I wish I could play guitar like that. I wish I could sing like that."
uh,
And now we're not just bandmates; we're friends. And he came in on this album. He's a big fan, and he really, you could, he loved this strange country tune, "Should I Wait?" And he
Yeah.
absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a great song, and it's also a great version that he did. And it kind of slots in perfectly with the kind of stuff that he's doing now in terms of recording. And, he doesn't really go too much for the power pop stuff anymore.
He never liked that. See, he's one of the few people that
Oh, I
that
know.
cringes, when they
I
call
read
it
a
pop.
quote. I read a quote from him years ago, and he said the bulk of what passes for power pop these days is actually ultra white caca, and that's one of the best quotes I've ever heard. And then when I saw Marshall a couple of years ago, and I reminded him of that, he goes, "I said that," and I said, "Yeah, it was hilarious." Because yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but he's not wrong. A lot of it is sort of kind of been homogenized over the years, but there's still a lot of great stuff being done, and so many great acts on this record who are considered power pop people. Shoes, the Toms,
Yeah,
Ken himself. It's funny.
yeah.
I was talking to Chris Carter the other day from Breakfast with the Beatles. We were talking about the Raspberries tribute. He said, my favorite song on there is Ken doing "I'm a Rocker."
Man,
I haven't had a chance to tell Ken that yet, but when he sees this, then Ken, Chris loves you.
and you know what's cool about that I'm a Rocker is I was there watching Wally Stalker lay down those guitar parts,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the Babies are such an underrated band, and Wally Stalker, every note counts, and he still is such an incredible guitar player.
Mm,
And it was cool to have Wally Stalker be on a record with John Wade again, not together, but still, it's great to see those very magical elements which made the Babies awesome.
yeah,
And that was a band that was never on my radar until Ken turned me on to them. And man, talk about a band that took that Bad Company thing and added melodic songwriting, very melodic song. Nothing against Boz, nothing against see, I don't know. I was about to say Boz Burrell. Nothing against Paul Rogers. He's a great singer, but the one thing about Bad Company that never really hit me in the heart was the songwriting, you know. It's just me. But Raspberries and Babies and all these bands that were ballsy, masculine, and gutsy, writing songs about sex that still had melodic beauty.
right.
Because, man, I mean, the classic is Go All the Way, even though it's written from the woman's perspective. A lot
Mm,
of people don't realize that, and they're like, oh, you know, that's a very carnal song. Same thing goes with Tonight. Same thing goes with a lot of these songs that are, you know, naughty, but
yeah,
Yeah,
still, they're
all
naughty
through the night.
songs.
All through the
They're
night is another one of those.
Yeah, but they're naughty songs that you could play in your mom's house and she won't even notice until she actually looks at the lyric sheet,
right.
you know? Go All the Way is very gorgeous. That melody is amazing.
Oh, I know.
But, that song is a dirty note, you know?
Never thought that was from a woman's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
it is.
says, and she says, go all the way.
Yeah.
I'm learning something right here.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well, because that's always been a really good songwriting technique
right.
is to take what's expected and make it unexpected.
I
You
always
know?
love the please please me bit with the come on, that was directly taken from that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another characteristic of power pop is that we definitely don't hide our influences.
mhm,
But that's a beautiful thing. And also another thing about the Raspberries is that they were a rare 12-string guitar band in the 70s. You know, a lot of guys they sold their Rickenbackers and bought Les Pauls, and there's Wally Bryson playing a 12-string double neck Gibson and a Rickenbacker, and having that beautiful sound. I
mm,
remember. I mean, one of my first introductions, they were showing Midnight Special compilation videos, and I remember seeing on VH1, and I remember seeing them doing Go All the Way and go, oh wow, that guy's using the double neck in a more interesting way than Jimmy Page. That guy's using the double neck for good reason. That makes sense.
Hmm.
So, it makes more sense. And then another song, then he switches to a flying V, and you're like, a flying V
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a non-metal situation?
Mhm.
That's cool.
The funny thing about Wally is I really think that, and Wally Bryson, speaking of, I think his contribution to Raspberries has really sort of been underrated over the years. I mean, everyone talks about Eric and his songs, and of course they were and are amazing. But Wally, for all intents and purposes, wrote that main riff to Go All the Way,
Mhm.
and didn't get songwriting credit for it.
Uh,
But and it's one of those things. George Harrison wrote some riffs for the Beatles, didn't get songwriting credit, but without that riff, it's not as much of a song. And so I think Wally sort of I don't know, been given a little bit of short shrift in the history of Raspberries. But on this record, there's a lot of people doing his songs. His son Jesse's on here doing
yeah.
Might As Well, and it's a wonderful version. He does that with a band called the Kennedys,
Mhm.
and yeah, Jesse's an amazing musician in his own right.
Man, there's some incredible sons of in this record. I mean, I was blown away when I went to go see 10cc and I saw Robin Taylor Xander open. And that guy, wow, that guy was a last minute addition to the record. And his contribution blew my mind. I mean, this guy has played every instrument filling in with Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
And he played every instrument on his version of Don't Want to Say Goodbye, and it's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
gorgeous. And then
he's
we've
got a
got
new record out also that just is hitting the streets. His second
great.
solo album.
Got to check it out. And then the of course we also had the Kiss Boys on here. Evan Stanley killed it on Last Dance,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's the future's looking pretty bright. When it comes to these kids out there, doing their thing, which is really really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were playing.
one of the great things about this tribute for me is when you get a tribute that's 37 songs, two CDs, you think, well, there's bound to be some moments that are kind of less. That doesn't really happen on this CD at all. I mean,
No,
it's front to back, just loaded with great performances,
nobody
great
phoned it in.
vocals. I mean, everything, and even some of the people that I didn't really know much about going in, like Olivia Rubini, who does a version of "Waiting." It's one of
Amazing.
the most beautiful things I've ever heard. It's just
Well,
amazing.
She's a Philly girl, and
Yeah.
she's blowing up right now. She did American Idol or Voice or one of those, and she just sang the national anthem at a big baseball game, and she's doing some major touring, and she's a rising star. There's some incredible young people on this record that are incredible. Adelaide Estep, who did I Saw the Light,
Mhm.
incredible, and then there's this girl that is making major waves as the next Karen Carpenter. Her name is Tori Holub,
That's
and she
funny.
did Starting Over.
Yeah,
And
heard
she
that
is,
twice.
well,
I,
Tori did to Todd Rundgren, she did the Bacharach tour. And this is really one of the first recordings that have come out. And Ken and I produced her version of Starting Over, and it sounds absolutely amazing. And then also on the young side, there's this guy named Brasco, and I actually recommended him for the record because he's a Cleveland boy,
Mhm.
and he was honored to represent Cleveland on the record. And he's an incredible songwriter, and he actually co-wrote, which I think is one of the best songs on the new album by Drake Bell. Really great record, Nonstop Flight. And I met him at a Drake Bell show, and he told me he's from Cleveland, and I'm like, I'm making a tribute record to the Raspberries. He's like, I love the Raspberries, and I'm like, we got to get a Cleveland boy on the record.
Wow.
So he did a great job. And of course, can we just take 5 minutes and talk about the Lemon Twigs?
Absolutely. Let's.
They're the future. I just actually traveled. I saw them at the Forum
Uh,
opening up for Parcels, which is another one of my favorite bands. Actually, I would love to work with the Parcels. When I did the Abbey Road tribute album I did for Cleopatra, I had recommended them to do because they're a four-part harmony band. But the Lemon Twigs, it's going on 10 years since I met them. I met them in 2016 when they were about two, and they played their first LA show at Amoeba, and man, talk about a cool growth period because they've made about 5 albums. They've done a lot of touring. They've worked with some incredible people, and they've gotten accolades from everybody from Todd Rundgren to Gilbert O'Sullivan, Elton John, all these people that just absolutely love them. And now, when they came in on this record, we decided to. They didn't know they had mentioned that they were stuck between doing Let's Pretend and Play On. And since it's both brothers, I said, well, what if Brian does one and what if Michael does one? So that's exactly why they're on the record twice. So Let's Pretend is Brian singing and Play On is Michael singing because I gotta tell you, Brian was when they first started, Brian was like the melodic genius, and then Michael was the weirdo. Now Michael's writing some of my favorite songs and the records. He's really bloomed. His voice has gotten so much stronger, and those are two of my favorite tracks I've ever been involved in, and I'm so glad that they're on this record twice because honestly, they're our biggest hope. That I every time I see people lose their minds at a show watching them, I think that's the band that's going to carry this genre to the future.
Mhm.
You know what I like?
And their dad is on the record too.
Yeah, two generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ronnie's amazing. Ronnie's one of those guys that unfortunately was in the wrong position as far as self-releasing his stuff back in the 70s and 80s. But he could have been, he could have been Emmett Rhodes,
Yeah.
But
Totally. Totally.
and now he's getting a tribute album. Did you hear about this? For Record
No.
Store
No.
Day, there's going to be an album of his songs sung by different people, including Todd Rundgren.
There
Wow.
you
That's
go.
cool. Cool.
I was going to say, aside from loving the music on this collection, for people who want to discover the Raspberries and at the same time discover these power pop artists, who are some of them are veterans, some of them are fairly new, this is a great education right there. It's a way to
Yeah.
all of these artists. And John, you want to talk about how Popdudes came to record Driving Around?
Oh gosh. Well, we were sort of a last minute addition too. I saw Ken Sharp at I think it was some sort of Beatles screening that we both attended down in LA. And he told me this a couple of years ago. He said, "Yeah, I'm putting together a Raspberries tribute." And immediately I said, "God, is there any room? We'd love to be on there." He goes, "Nah, I think we've got everybody." I'm like, "Oh man, I wish you would have told me." And then I don't know. Fast forward 9 months, a year. He told me somebody dropped out. He said, "You guys want to do something?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't even ask Michael Simmons, who's the other guy in Popdudes. I just said, "Yeah, we'll do it." And then Ken gave me a choice of songs that were still left, and one of them was "Driving Around." And no one can do those Beach Boys sort of harmonies like Michael Simmons. I
Hmm.
mean, he's like Fernando in that he's an amazing talent. He can play any instrument, he can sing, he can produce, engineer, and he did everything on our version of "Driving Around" except play drums. And just thrilled to be on this record and thrilled to do that song. It's one of my favorites from Raspberries.
That's awesome. It's a great version. And Michael, yeah, you're right. Michael is a powerhouse. He's an incredible player, incredible singer, and that's one of the things about this power pop genre is that I actually still technically run a page called Self-Contained Music about one-man bands, and there's some great one-man bands on the record. One of my favorite tracks, Chris Price um, did
Yeah,
an incredible Nobody Knows, and that's all him. And that's pretty cool. And then there's also well, Robin played everything on his track. Lemon Twigs are all self-contained. They're absolutely incredible. Aside from piano, I played all the instruments on I Can Remember. Ken played a little bit of 12 string, but that was really like that was a hard one. Holy mackerel! That song, That song is a monster, and it was crazy. Oh man, one of the coolest things about our record is that we actually have three members of the Raspberries on it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Good
it
bet.
was really, really cool to have Jim Bonfanti play drums on four songs. And that guy still
Yeah.
that,
Have not
that
lost a
guy
step.
still that guy needs a band. If I was in Cleveland, I would totally freaking start a band with that guy. He's incredible.
Uh-huh.
He's incredible. He's incredible. What a cool dude. He's so cool. So it was really, really fun to have him on the record and just be the guy, It was so great. I
You had
love it.
Eric do the count-in.
And you know what? This is a good point. Um, I actually got to talk to Eric on the phone, and he was thrilled. Nobody was a bigger fan of this record than Eric. He was having so much fun. And for about 6 months, he was listening to everything and giving us notes. And it was all positive, you
Wow.
know? And I'm just so sad that he didn't get to see the release. And we were trying to get him to sing backup on Tonight, but at least he did that count in, which is really nice. But the world lost a lot when Eric Carmen died, it's a real shame that we don't have Michael McBride and Eric Carmen anymore. And I also hate that I missed the reunion tour. I
Which
was living in Miami at the time, and they didn't come to Miami.
It was amazing. I saw it twice. I saw it at the what was the House of Blues in LA that they played, and then
Yeah,
also they played one here in Orange County in Anaheim, and that was the second time that they did the tour out here in Southern California, and it sounded like the old days. I mean, they had a few other people on stage with them aside from the four, but those guys, I mean, Eric and Jim and Dave and Wally, they were doing all the heavy lifting. It was amazing.
yeah,
It just transported you back to that time, and the fans were totally into it, and just screaming, and that's where the Live in the Sunset Strip record came from, as I'm
yeah,
sure you both know. Amazing record, and just yeah, it was just so great to be able to get to see them.
I got to see them
yeah.
at BB King's in New York. And in fact, before the show, I got to interview Eric and Jim together for about 15, 20 minutes. And the one thing that always sticks out in my mind, I wanted to say to Eric that Let's Pretend is the greatest Paul McCartney, Brian Wilson song they never wrote.
Yeah, yeah.
He was flattered that I said that because it really is. If you blended Paul and Brian together, you would get something like Let's Pretend.
Well, this is one of my
Yeah.
favorite ways I defend these bands. That I mean, Eric Carmen's writing has been hits in multiple generations, with All by Myself being covered by
Yeah.
by Celine Dion, and same thing goes to Badfinger with Without You being covered by uh
Mariah Carey.
yeah, that her.
It's it, it's
Sorry,
it's
I'm
it's easy
sorry,
to want to
Mariah
forget
Carey
that.
isn't
Yeah.
in my vernacular.
No,
Okay.
it's easy to want to forget that. Yeah.
It's not Christmas yet.
Okay.
But it's like it's great because these artists, I mean, the music lives on forever, and this is our way of getting the Raspberry songs covered too. Because man, it would be amazing if these songs somehow became hits again. I love the Rick Springfield version of "Go All the Way." I think that should be played on the radio
Hmm.
all the time, if there still was radio.
Well, Raspberries had Go All the Way was on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I remember when that movie came out, I was DJing an event with a bunch of high school kids, and somebody came up to me, high school kids, they can you play that song "Go All the Way" by Raspberries? And I said, what? It kind of threw me off because I didn't know about the movie at that point. I said,
Yeah.
how do you know that song? He goes, oh, it's in this really cool movie. It's a great song. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is. I mean, so it's
Yeah.
great that the great music's getting exposed to younger generations through movies and video and that kind of stuff.
TV.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
God bless music supervisors,
Yeah.
because that's how, one of the things. Hey, one of the things that happened recently was the premiere of a movie called the Power Pop movie that's still in the works, and one of the things they talk about is like, how cool was it that Breaking Bad used Baby Blue,
Yeah.
But you never know. There could be a case where in the future where you'll have a Raspberry song predominantly used in something, and they'll have a big comeback, and people will find this record too, because
Yeah.
it's great. It's also great to have fresh versions of the fresh raspberries, even fresher, even fresher. But
Yeah.
it's great because I think one of the things I believe in the most is that music makes you immortal. There's no such thing as pure as full death, It's as tragic as it is, even when we lose all the Beatles and we lose all the people we loved, the music is going to live on forever. And I'm sure people 200 years from now are still going to be singing Let It Be. And I'm hoping that 200 years from now, people are still going to be, rocking out to Go All the Way and saying, these people roamed the earth. This was the sound of what our world was, And it's a beautiful thing. It's going to be as representative as the way we look at classical composers.
I hope everything you're saying is right. And I know people have been saying that about the Beatles for so many years,
Are
but
we are we ever going to be ready for a world without Beatles?
not
No.
me.
No.
It takes work for that to happen. It takes constant releases so that the names are in your mind all the time. I think it's very important that every year that Universal releases something on the Beatles, whether you think it's a good release or not, because it keeps their name out there. So,
Yeah. It kind of
and
makes you go broke when they release three things at the same time, like the Wings compilation and the Lennon thing, and then the
and
Beatles anthology.
Well, they
Empties the
don't care
pocketbook,
about your
but it's
money.
great.
They don't care about your finances.
I'm telling every single author out there, don't release anything the last 3 months of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because there's a Lennon release for his birthday, usually October. There's a Beatle release in the last 3 months. They know it's the Christmas market, so there's going to be more during that time.
Yeah.
Free us up for the other 9 months. So, you know, we,
Right.
you can digest your stuff then. But
Release.
things up here about this compilation. How great was it to have the Hudson brothers back?
Hey, you know what? If we could get the Hudson brothers back, then let's think of a list of other people we want back. It's
Uh,
kind of like finding out someone could revive a dead body and be like, okay, here's my list. Bring these people back. But
uh,
it's great because, Mark has always been very active, but it's nice to see the other brothers there too.
yeah, well, I've heard Brett wants to get back together, but Bill is not too crazy about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
all the credit goes
I've
to,
heard rumors that were going around online that they were going to tour and do some live shows, but nothing's come of it yet,
Yeah.
yeah.
unfortunately. Now,
Well, Eric was
Mark
going
is
to tour.
amazing. Mark's an amazing talent. He's such an upbeat guy and just full of great stories and great insights. And I really enjoyed when I did your show, Ken, with Mark when he was driving and we were talking about Badfinger. That was
Yeah.
an amazing hour and a half.
Yeah,
Great guy. And their version of All Through the Night is top
it
notch.
it rocks. Oh man. You want a rocker right now to get into, well, half this album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
But I was the one always pushing for every side of the Raspberries needs to be represented. The rockers, the softies, the country, the the pastiches.
uh,
Speaking of pastiches, one of the best tracks on the record is "I Don't Know What I Want," which is a total Who. They're totally going for the Who. But I was in the room with John Waite blasting that vocal, and my God, there's 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 an amazing. As a record producer, one of the things that bothers me is that, when I work with older people, they're one take wonders.
uh-huh.
I work with younger people and they're used to seeing videos of like Billie Eilish doing 70 takes and then piecing it all together. But man, these people were live people. These people played 10 sets a day at the Cavern. These people rehearsed 5 days a week and then played all weekend. You know, so it's like you see guys like John Waite, and I just saw him play actually in they did a festival of Marshall called Bourbon and Beyond in Louisville, and I saw him play a set. And this guy, oh my God, powerhouse, powerhouse. You know, it's incredible. These people are incredible. But yeah, the future's good too.
I would
Yeah.
love to get everybody from this collection on my channel here. I'd love to talk to them. I just want to say, whatever I've heard from Chris Price, I love his music. I,
Chris and I grew up 30 blocks away from each other in the same town. He's 4 years younger than me, and I've been a part of every part of his career. And one of the greatest, that Chris played bass on 4 out of 5 songs on Ringo's Crooked Boy record.
Yeah.
how can I not know that?
Now you do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
Chris,
literally I called him. I was like verge of tears, and I said, "You win, you win," because I was like, once one of my friends get to work with a Beatle, that's official. He went through the finish line,
uh-huh,
and he says he wasn't in the same room with Ringo, and basically what he had done, he had played bass on Linda Perry's demos,
right.
and then Ringo cut his drums with Bruce Sugar, and she said, "Come in and recut the bass," and he got to play bass with Ringo. And that's one of the things about Chris is that he's got super pure powers that people don't know about.
Mm.
And he's an incredible bass player,
Yeah.
incredible keyboard player, great guitar player. He doesn't like go for it, but he's really a fantastic guitar player with voicings and stuff. I've seen him rip leads though, but it's not his thing. But man, that guy is incredible. And he's just moved to Tennessee because his family. See, one of the things that people don't know about Chris is that his dad is the most successful Latin producer of the last 20 years, Rudy Perez.
Uh-huh.
And Rudy moved from Miami to Tennessee, and has joined forces with Desmond Child in creating a production company. So Chris has moved over there and gotten a place, and I think Nashville's going to be great for Chris. He's going to do a great job there.
Okay.
He's amazingly talented, and his version of "Nobody Knows" is another one of my favorites. That's one of my. If I were to pick a Raspberry song that should have or could have been a single, it would be "Nobody Knows." I mean, that's a total no reply Beatles sort of sounding song to me. I love it, love it.
I don't know why
Fantastic.
Tonight was not a bigger hit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the Raspberries is that um, every band that should have been bigger, there's always some mismanagement and some label issues.
Hmm.
And if they were on a better label, I think if they were in a better management situation, I think they could have been huger. But also Cleveland, you know, if
Yeah,
they moved to LA, they probably would have done better. You
Interesting.
know,
Cleveland's still a decent market.
it's a decent market, but Michael Stanley, pretty badass, but never left Cleveland. You know, um, perfect example. Pretenders, Chrissy Hind went to England. You know, I've got so many talented friends from Miami, like Chris Price, that are equals of Chris Price's talent,
Uh-huh.
that are stuck in Miami, where the last band that got signed out of Miami was the Mavericks back in the 90s. And there were
wow.
some incredible bands that got signed out of Miami that fizzled, like the Goods, Nuclear Valdez. Um, but then there was other cases where bands were Miami adjacent, like Matchbox 20. But again, they were not Miami. The Miami Matchbox 20 was actually a Northern Florida band that was recording in Miami. But the golden age of Miami signing was in the 90s when Saigon Kick, Marilyn Manson,
Hmm.
the Goods, Nuclear Valdez, and the Mavericks all got signed. But since then, zero, zero. Chris got signed. Chris Price was in a band called Price that got signed to Geffen in 2005, 2006. They actually made a demo with Abraham Memorial Jr. producing. They also did a demo with Jack Joseph Puig, the producer of Jellyfish. They did another one with the producer of the Jonas Brothers. And then they finally made a record with Tony Berg, the producer of Weezer, Phantom Planet, and the like. And that was actually set for release and they even had a $70,000 music video, and it was still shelved. You know, so Chris is recovering from that. It was really tough on him. He put all his heart and soul into that. But the record label, see, one of the greatest things about music today is that you no longer have to be signed to release music,
Mhm.
but it is nice to have a budget. It is nice to have promotion money. But basically, the record industry was operating in 2006 while on fire because they was pretty much caving in. The roof was caving in on the industry, and they thought that Price was going to be the next Kings of Leon because those three brothers. Because Chris also has brothers that are incredibly talented. His brother Corey was in Bebopalula with Chris, and he has his own project that's fantastic. And then Chris has a brother named Mikey who played guitar, who's really good, who's kind of left music. And then Chris's little brother Adam is in a band called Mustard Service that's actually doing really well. So
Wow.
it's a little Osmonds.
Well, I will tell you one thing about Chris. He composed and recorded one of my favorite songs ever. If I were to ever make a list of my top 100 songs,
Uh,
this song would be in there. I think it was on his first album. It's called For All We Know.
Ah,
The song, it is the most beautifully heartbreaking song you ever want to hear. And it's one of those songs where I play it and then I go back and I play it again, and then I go back and I play it again. It just hits me. And I don't know if I've ever told Chris this. I probably should, but it's just beautiful, beautiful.
the song that makes me cry from that record, and the song that I consider one of the greatest songs I've ever heard, period, is a song off that record called "That's Your Boyfriend."
yep.
That song literally makes me cry because it's the saddest story, and the lyrics are so you know what's funny? The lyrics are very Nilsson-like. It's cynical in the saddest way because it's a song about, the de-evolution of a relationship where the boyfriend basically becomes a couch potato and gives her no attention. Doesn't even tell her he loves her. It's so sad. Chris could write a song that it doesn't even stop at the wrist. It cuts your hand off. That's what I like to say. You know. It's
But
amazing. He's written some incredible songs, but there's a song on his second record that I played bass on called "Man Down"
it's
that I think is,
that's my
huh?
I love that song.
You know what I tell Chris? I say that's the best Robert Lamb song I've ever heard. It's a great song, and I recently had the pleasure of playing bass with him at IPO and his big farewell show, and that song always brings a smile to my face. When the bridge comes in and I start bouncing, I can't help but smile with every inch of my mouth. It's a beautiful song.
I'm gonna put that in the description box, the link for that song, because I would say to every Beatle fan, well, not only should you love this compilation, but listen to Chris Price's music.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime,
Yeah, he's a gem, and it hasn't been the easiest road for him. And we
yeah,
were talking about burnout. He has a whole album in the can that he hasn't released that he recorded during the pandemic. And I said, well, why don't you release it? And he's like, I'm sure my 150 monthly listeners on Spotify will love it. And I'm like, dude, numbers, come on. He works for a label, so it's like that's one of the most evil things about the industry right now is numbers. Screw that, man. I'd rather have 150 real fans than a million fake fans.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. This is my last question about the compilation because you mentioned his name before, but Darian, how do you pronounce that?
Sahanaja.
Yeah.
Sahanaja.
Where is he from?
Well, Darian is half Japanese.
Uh,
Damn you, half Japanese guys. A Weezer reference on your podcast. How about that? Um, Darian's got the greatest hair on earth, it defies gravity. But Darian is the secret weapon of the Brian Wilson band. And Darian was also the leader of the Wondermints, which is one of the greatest bands that no one ever heard of. And you know, Darian is our local Beach Boys perfectionist, and
Yeah.
man, he was the only person that could have done justice to his song. I mean, it was just really fantastic, and he did such a great job too on I Can Remember. You know,
Hmm.
because that's one of the things is that Eric, yeah, on the beach, he did such a great job on the beach because it's such a Beach Boys pastiche.
Yeah.
But Eric Carmen was an incredibly skilled pianist. You know, it's not easy to play the piano parts to a lot of the Raspberry songs. And
Mhm.
it's great. I love bands that have secret weapons, you know.
Yeah.
And
And I think, Fernando, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Wonderments play on the single that Eric released called Brand New Year? I think it was
yes, they did.
2014.
Good. That's a
Yeah.
great song, by the way.
So
That's a
there's that
great song.
Raspberries connection there. And I
I
think at one point Eric might have managed Wonderments or wanted to manage Wonderments. I
Well,
remember.
there was also a point where Eric almost did a solo tour,
Yeah.
and Darian was in the band. And you know, Darian also toured with the Zombies when they did Odyssey and Oracle, and he was their Mellotron player.
You know,
And then,
I saw that tour. I didn't know he was on it.
oh yeah, Darian, come on, how could you forget that hairdo?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Darian is a great guy, and Darian and Debbie are now in the Al Jardine Pet Sounds band.
Okay.
His wife Debbie, and they're talk about a keyboard power couple because Debbie used to be the keyboardist for Heart, and they're both incredibly skilled.
Yeah. Darian also did a version of the Mark Lindsay song Arizona for
Oh,
a
cool!
compilation I put out a couple of years ago, tribute to the music of the year 1970.
Oh,
And
nice.
he told me he wanted to do that song because it was one of his favorites when he was growing up. He remembered listening to it with his sister and just did an amazing version. I mean, true to the original, but he put his own stamp on it. And I was thrilled to have him on that compilation.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
here's how I'd like to end this.
Okay.
I'm gonna mention each track, and we're gonna each say one word. Go all the way, Rick Springfield. Power.
Great. You know, I would say great for all of them.
I was going to say love it, but that's two words.
You can say love it. You can say love it like Lyle Love It, just like the
Love it.
last name.
Love it. All right.
I want to be with you, Vicky and Debbie Pearson. Babes.
You
Classic.
Bangle. Let's pretend Lemon Twigs.
perfect.
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 Perfection.
Come
Yeah.
around and see me, Katie Ferrara. Cute, cute, just cute. Just
Didn't
Katie is actually somebody I brought into the table, and she is one of the best singer-songwriters in LA, and she's a busking queen. She actually performs at all the flea markets in LA, and she's a powerhouse. Going nowhere tonight, the Caulfields.
Oh, I
Perfect.
to bring I love the Celeste playing. Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that was great.
Seen.
Celeste is a rent is an underrated instrument. Don't want to say goodbye. Robin Taylor Xander, Budokan,
Progeny.
Progeny. Absolutely. Might as well. Jesse Bryson and the Kennedys.
Progeny Part
Wally.
2.
Wally Part Two.
Yeah.
The real sequel to Wally. Oh, it seems so easy. The Sponge Tones.
Beatles.
Smiles.
I think of the Sponge Tones. I think of the Beatles.
Oh yeah. I saw the light. Adelaide Estep. Beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Ecstasy. Eric Dover featuring Eric Singer. Ultimate Eric.
Rock.
Oh, here's a cool story. I played bass with Eric in the studio at Ambrosia's old. There's a studio on Lancashire that used to be called Mama Joe's Studio, where Ambrosia used to record, and that's currently where Kiss rehearses. So I recorded the bass to Ecstasy with Eric Dover on Gene Simmons' Gibson Ripper bass.
Kiss still has to rehearse. You think they would know those songs by now? It's been 50 years.
No comment.
We
On the beach,
our copies of the collection here.
on the beach, Darian Shahanaja.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Smile,
Beautiful.
smile. If you change your mind, Ken Sharp.
Boss.
Wonderful.
Boss. Definitely boss. Nobody knows Chris Price. Genius.
Fantastic.
I Reach for the Light, Bird Streets. That guy is freaking
Underrated.
awesome.
Underrated. That's my word.
Anybody who's a fan of Jellyfish needs to check out Bird Streets because Jason Faulkner produces him. They just released a new album called The Escape Artist that's fantastic. Really, really cool. Driving Around, Popdudes.
Best cut.
Hell yeah. Freaking awesome. Freaking awesome.
Modest.
Hard to
That's
get
my
over
word.
a heartbreak. P. Hux. That guy. Parthenon Huxley.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Freaking great. Waiting. Olivia Rubini. Future.
Wicked.
Future.
Yeah.
I can
Favorite.
remember Carla DeVito. Epic. Epic. Carla DeVito. It was so cool. You know what was epic? Getting emails from Robbie Benson, her engineer.
That's great.
One of the reviewers said, "Oh my God, you were working with my boyfriend?" And I'm like, "Who?" She's like, Robbie Benson, and I'm like, "Well, if he's your boyfriend, then explain his wife." And she's like, "No, lifelong crush, please
Every
get me."
16-year-old girl in 1975.
Uh-huh.
I have to admit, he was a good-looking dude. He's probably still a good-looking dude. Tonight, Lou Graham.
Rock.
I don't. I have words. This is my word. 2 fists up. Play on Lemon Twigs. Perfect. You know,
Yeah.
Lemon Twigs should be just called the Perfect. If they have ever had to change their name, the Perfect. I don't know what I want. John Waite. Baby.
Powerful.
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 Baby. Great. He has great hair too. I love. You know, he's a good dude. Overnight sensation. Shoes. Pop.
Power pop.
The absolute definition of power pop. All through the night, the Hudson Brothers. Back.
Rocks.
Reunited. And
Yep.
it feels so good.
Absolutely. Should I wait? Marshall Crenshaw. Yeah.
Fernando's boss, but that's 2 words again.
Hey, he is boss. I love boss as a descriptor. That's
Yeah.
a rarely used adjective.
Yeah, well, see, it can be a descriptor, but it works both ways. The boss, Ken's the boss with you of this compilation, but he's also boss and groovy and all that stuff.
Ace. Ace, that's another one I love to use. Let's go ahead and use Ace for Cry. Chasm Sultan. That's Ace.
Yeah.
That's
Another
epically awesome.
gorgeous.
Making It Easy by Brasco, another one, Future. You know, like you don't know who this guy is, but you got to check out his stuff. Brasco's cool. He's kind of reminds me of Mika. He also reminds me a little bit of like a better Benson Boone. A Benson Boone that writes his own songs. Evan Stanley, Last Dance.
Yeah.
I would say Future as well. You know.
Can I just say one thing about the
Yeah.
Cat Sultan track? Because
Yeah.
Beatle fans especially will love it because it's a Mellotron.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to tell you, this thing right here is something everybody should get. This is the Mellotron Micro by the Mellotron Company, and this is the best $800 you will ever spend. Every sound you ever wanted, and here's the best way to describe this thing: it's a time machine. Because every single one of these sounds were recorded in the 50s and 60s, and it's got hiss, built-in hiss.
You got to have his.
Both Ken and I have one of these, and I use it every day. It's got grime. I got to fix one of the notes that got fucked up. Screwed up.
That's all right.
You know it was going to happen. God.
Almost made it all
Take
the
the
way to the end
Miami
without
out of
that.
the boy. Sorry about that. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry if I FCC. Don't mess with Ken, okay? Okay, Evan Stanley. Again, heritage, future, genes. John Pohida. I can hardly believe your mind. Are you guys aware of John Pohida?
Doesn't he do like a Todd tribute band?
Yeah, they call him Photod.
Okay.
But that's glam. That's glam. That track, he put a David Bowie vibe on that song, and it's like a party track. And that's one of the most adjusted arrangements. But
Yeah.
John's incapable of. John is such a creative dude. I met him through an ex-girlfriend of mine. He's a Boston guy, and we just did the on the Blue Cruise. He was in my yacht rock band, and he's a star. He's a star. Absolutely. Rose-colored glasses. Rob Bonfiglio,
One of the
Amazing. Rob is a
Brian
huge
Wilson's
talent.
stepson,
Yeah.
husband of Carney Wilson, plays also in the Al Jardine band, and incredibly talented guy. His band Wonderlust was awesome. So
Yes. Yeah.
being a Ken Sharp situation, I've met so many cool Philly guys, and he's awesome. He's great.
I think Rob wasn't Rob Ken's best, or no, Ken was Rob's best man.
I'm
I
sure
think at his wedding.
they're inseparable.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting to the end. I'm a rocker. Ken Sharp, rock.
fantastic.
Yep.
Wally Stalker, rock. Seriously. Party's over. Stan Lynch and Dan Baird are the chefs. Great. Americana.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Good job. Cruising Music, Ronnie D'Addario. As perfect as his kids. Great job. Great, great job. Tori Holub, another future.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hey,
Her
Fernando,
voice. Yeah.
this version of starting over, it just seems like something's different about the lyrics, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Tori had one adjustment.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Seemed a
And
little.
Ken granted it. We weren't gonna kick her out because she didn't want to go there.
Oh, okay. All right. People will know.
Well,
Okay.
come on, I'm not supposed to curse.
That's
So
right.
that's the word. That's the word that we
You could
can't say
say,
that
you
you
could
just said
say,
a few minutes ago.
you could say F. You already did
Yeah.
it.
Okay, my word for that one, F yeah.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of F yeah, Hands on You, Cherry Curry,
Glam.
maybe the most dirty song on the record.
Glam. Total glam. I love it. Stomp.
My word for that one is H job. That song is about a threesome involving hands. Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. I have a new term I created called Love Square. Why stop at three? Um, every way I can. The Toms. Pop.
Love
Tom
them.
is
Love the
great.
Toms. Loved them since 1979.
Oh, so cool.
Tom's a
Willie
great guy too.
Wilcox. Willie Wilcox with You in My Life. That's
Utopian.
just well, no, you know what? To me, it's like it goes even further. It sounds like Tin Pan Alley. It sounds like Anthony Newley.
No,
It's
I
like
said
early
you. I said utopian, not
utopian,
utopia. Little play on words there.
utopian for sure. Willie's great. I wish he had a solo album. I would love to make a solo album with him because some of his songs with Utopia are some of the best.
Mhm.
Crazy Lady Blue.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about that song. The song's great.
Princess of the Universe.
Princess of the Universe. Actually, he wrote one of the most beautiful songs for Utopia, Mated, and Only
Yeah.
Human. Because he's actually a very talented. He's not just a drummer; he's a musician too. Just kidding. He's an incredible pianist. He's a great. You know that Willie now runs a major company that does all the music for slot machines.
Oh,
All right, and then one last thing. Please let me come back home. Bambikino featuring members of Nada Surf and Guided by Voices. Great. The leader of that band, Eric Paparazzi, amazingly talented guy and great, great band. And that's a great way to end the record and a great way to end the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
So
But,
I've got a singer that's about to walk in through the door.
okay. I was going to ask you just one last thing.
I got time.
Okay. 30 seconds if you want.
I can answer it in 34.
Concert. You just saw Paul McCartney in concert. And
Yes. I missed the question. Sorry.
Paul McCartney in concert. You just saw him. What?
Yes.
Because
He's
before.
got he's got potential. No, lifelong McCartney fan. Um, I thought that his 2014 Dodger Stadium show was the pinnacle. His show at the Acrisure, which was his warm-up show, originally supposed to be the first show of the tour. Then he added that Santa Barbara show that he played 2 hours. But the first show of the tour, the Acrisure in Palm Desert, being amongst the 11,000 people watching him from, by the way, we were in nosebleeds, but still, it was the closest I've ever been to a Paul show. It was perfect. It was perfect. It was incredible.
And you said his voice is stronger right now?
His voice is back. All the problems he was having in 2022 are gone. And aside from a couple of songs where he was having a little bit of shakiness, he was on fire. And he was also very sharp. He was like very like with it, making a lot of great taking it in, making jokes about the signs.
Uh-huh.
There's one point where he was introducing a song and some guy was yelling out a request and he went, "Ay, ay, 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 ay." It was very funny. It was great. I love Paul. I would love to meet him one day, hopefully in a recording studio. But Paul is we're all so lucky that at 83 he could still sing his ass off for 3.5 hours without a drink of water.
Yeah, amazing.
I really hope he's not a cyborg, but
And
that would explain a lot.
we're so lucky that we still have Ringo and still a
Yeah.
lot of great artists from the 60s who are still out there with great voices.
Colin Blunstone. Holy crap.
Roger Daltrey,
Man.
when I saw
Roger Daltrey.
him tour, was
Yeah. I actually went to go see Robbie Krieger last night, and he was still exactly the way he's always been, you know. So it's great that we have some survivors that are still making great music. Broadway, come on in. I'm about to introduce you to Broadway B, amazing singer that's oh, is he knocking on the outside door? Maybe. But and also I just heard a great record from Jim McCartney of the Yardbirds. He put out an album in 2018 that is absolutely killer. So there's good stuff out there.
into that.
If
Which,
I can add one last thing,
okay.
since we're talking about power pop, there's a band that just released their first full length album. They had an EP out a few years ago. They're amazing. Reminded me of kind of like the Lemon Twigs. This could be the future, and they're called the Goods. Different Goods than Fernando was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the girl group.
Goods, and their album just came out, and it's incredible.
Well, there's no such thing as a band called The Goods. You need to check out Five Steps to Getting Signed and their album Good Things Are Coming, that came out on Mercury Records. Actually, The Goods from Miami were the last band produced by Tom Dowd, and they were incredible. And I still work with Jim, and Jim has a new album coming out in a couple weeks that's called One Glorious Day, and Jim is amazing. Jim, and I used to have a Beatles tribute band in Miami called the Beat Hose, which is inspired by the way that the announcer announced the Beatles in Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on, I gotta get my singer. Give me one second.
All right.
Speak amongst yourselves.
This is the new compilation here, Play On, the Raspberries Tribute. And what's going on with the Popdudes right now, other than this song?
Actually, we've recorded a bunch of new songs that we're hoping to release soon. Have one Beatles song and a couple of McCartney solo tracks, kind of deeper cuts. We did a version of No Values. Give my
Oh,
regards to
cool.
McCartney. And we did a version of To You from Back to the Egg.
That
So
song is amazing.
yeah, so Mike sang both of those, of course, did everything, and I played the drums, and just a lot of fun. And I think we're going to be on Breakfast with the Beatles in December with Chris Carter on KLOS Radio out here in LA, and premiere those songs. So excited about that.
Okay.
I have some cool Beatle news. I'm producing an artist from England with Denny Seiwell. Her name is Jessie Morel.
He was
And
talking.
Jesse has been making waves doing Beatles covers on YouTube. And we've produced two songs for Jesse that we're shopping. And if you ever want to have your heart melted, look up Jesse's cover of She Loves You on YouTube. It is spectacular.
I think
And
I've heard that it is very, very good.
she's great. And we've done a Wings cover of My Love, and we also did one of her originals. And I think she's spectacular. So there's some really good stuff happening there.
We'll look into her. One more
Jesse
thing.
Morale.
How come no scratch and sniff here?
Oh, anything could be scratch and stiff if you sit on it.
I don't know why the two of you don't have podcasts of your own. So much knowledge between the two of you. You should have your own podcast.
Well, I would love to if I had a little extra time. So I'm working on cloning myself.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. Same
I
here.
know, I know. Trust me, it's not just for organ farming. Cloning myself would be really great because I really do run myself ragged, but I love it. I love every second of it. And speaking
Same.
of, I've got a session starting now, but it's been great being on the show again, Ken. Thanks so much for the invite.
Okay. You're welcome anytime. Chris Price, you're welcome anytime.
You know, Chris has been
You're
recording
welcome.
some new stuff, so it'd be cool to have him on and anything to inspire him to actually release stuff.
Okay.
I over release, he under releases.
All right. And John, you're welcome anytime. You have a trivia show coming up very soon.
Yeah, I got to defend that title, don't I?
Yes, you are. Winner 3 times in a row.
Wow.
Absolutely.
The current Ken Jennings of the Beatles trivia shows that I've been
And
doing.
if you want to read a good book, check out John Borack's 100 Facts About the Beatles. It's a
Beatles
really good
100.
book.
Thanks, Fernando. Appreciate that.
Good book.
Yep.
Very good book.
All
It
right.
resides in the bathroom of my studio, along with a lot of other great books. I love rock books. I think that's actually well, I see you have a bunch on your wall over there, but I think there's a lot of great things. Oh, Denny Seiwell has a new book called The Best of Times, Worst of Times. It's great. Fantastic book.
You don't mean
There it
this.
is. There it is. Look at that guy.
I've got John's book here. It's a whole stack of Beatle books. Anyway,
Good
All right.
times.
thank you guys for doing this. And
Yeah, man.
whenever you want to come back, just let me know.
I'm in. Have a great day. And thanks, John, for doing this, man. This was great.
Of course. No, thank you guys. And big kudos to you, Fernando, for the project and especially to Ken,
Yep.
because obviously this would
Yes.
not have happened without
No, no, no.
Without Ken Sharp and all his amazing work.
If any, as I said, this was Ken's baby. I mean, I helped him produce it, but really the thing about it is that um, if there's ever a guy that bleeds raspberries, it's him. He had the relationship with Eric that really was essential to making this worth it because you know anybody can make a tribute album, but to have the artist there, egging us on. Same thing with Paul's text message. It's like it really blows my mind that these people are listening. You know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for doing this. And don't
Thanks, Ken.
play on with the
Get
record.
it. Get it. Hey, we're talking about vinyl too soon. So for Record Store Day next year.
Okay. Let me know. And thank you, Ken Sharp. Anytime you
Ken
want.
Sharp, you rock.
Okay.
Take it easy, man. Have a great day. Thanks, John, and
All
enjoy your
right. Thanks,
weekend and happy
guys.
Halloween.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right. Thanks to all of you for watching. We'll see you soon.